Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I have a subscriber who had a very brief encounter with two Dogman on his way to an appointment in the early hours on a Virginia highway. Before we get into that, a couple links. As you know, I rely on my Patreon, my PayPal, and my merch to help this channel to continue to grow and go. All of those links are in the description below. I also have a second channel for creepypasta, fanfiction, and scary voice acting. Stories that, well, they really don't fit on this channel. Now, if that's anything you're into, follow that link and give those stories a listen. You may just like what you hear. Now, guys, I've taken enough of your time. Let's get on with today's upload. Shall we? Alright, guys, tonight I have a subscriber who I spoke with just recently, and he was on his way to a doctor's appointment in the early morning out in Virginia, and he had a encounter with not one but two Dogman. Jay, how are you tonight?
I'm doing pretty good, Jeffrey. How are you?
I'm doing well. So I'm gonna probably just hand you the floor, and that way you can tell us what happened, and if any questions arise, I'll cut you off and ask away.
All right, buddy. Sure thing.
All right. Thanks a lot. Here we go.
Okie dokie. Well, Jeff, I had a lot of appointments Wednesday. I had a few appointments away from here, one in Abingdon and one in Bristol. So I had to leave early that morning. So got up real early, wee hours, and pulled out of the driveway about 10, 15 after 4 a.m. that morning. And I take a back road across from where I'm at to hit the 4-lane to go to the interstate. And as I was going across this back road, it takes about 10 minutes. And it's rural. I mean, it's way out in the sticks, so to speak. And I got about a couple miles from the house, and I was driving my wife's vehicle. It's not exactly new, but it's new to us because she ain't had it just a couple months, and she's real protective over it. It's a good little riding car. It's a PT Cruiser. And I was going around this big long curve, and I mean, it's a horseshoe curve. It's one that looked exactly like a horseshoe if you could see it from above map. And I slowed down to about, I guess, 20 mile an hour going into the curve, and all of a sudden, the vehicle acted as though you hit something and it vapor locked at the same time, but yet it shimmied. But the weight shifted from the right to the left. And I know good and well that it was no mechanical failure because it just don't act like that. So I hit the brake and I put it in park and I got out and was wondering. I revved it up. It was fine. And I thought I seen a shadow up the road, a shape. So I stuck my foot back in and lit it up with the brake light. And yeah, I made out a shape, a big, tall shape that was extremely dark. I didn't know what it was, but from what I could tell, I would say it was probably about, 30 feet. So I got just enough light from the tail light to make it out. And I didn't know what was going on. I didn't want to suspect the worst, but anyway, I started hearing the gravels move and something breathing. So I took my foot off the brake and reached in to grab my sidearm I carry with me when I take long trips. And as I was reaching to get it out of the holster from the passenger side seat, I heard brush breaking real slow, but right up on the left-hand side above me, there's about a 6 to an 8 foot bank up till it hits the woods. And it wasn't exactly moving fast, but I could tell what was moving was not a quadruped. It was bipedal, just like when a man steps, and it was breaking real loud. Well, when I turned around and looked, it stopped. And then it started moving real quick and real heavy. So I got in and slammed the door and broke it down and drive and got out of there. Well, I was really, really tore up. It really scared the crap out of me, what I thought it probably could have been. So I drove down the road about 1.5 miles, 2 miles, right where I could see the lights of the main road coming out and vehicles going, and little subdivision. I pulled off on a wide spot there and caught my breath and caught my bearings back on what I was doing. Well, I drove on down to the appointment, but first I had to make a stop. And when I made a stop, of course, the parking lot was lit up. So when I got out to run into what I had to do, I came back out, and by the light there, it was still early in the morning, the sun wasn't up yet. I walked over to the side and, checking. And right there down here, with the heat and then humidity, you've got dew on the vehicles early in the morning. It takes it a while to dry off. Well, you could see a print right there where it went through the dew and then that first fine layer of fine road dirt right there. And it was just starting to dry, but there was what I could make out. There was 4 fingerprints. And it looked like it had it rubbed probably a foot and a half before I guess what it had did. It had let go of it, or I just, it couldn't stop it, or I went by so fast. I don't know, but you could make it out. And what I could tell, they were long fingers, looked like about 2 inches longer than mine, what I could make out. But real slender, real thin. Almost like chicken bone thin after it's been plucked down. And the fur, I guess the hair, whatever it was, that's what backed it up. That's what I knew what it pretty well was. You could see the pattern of the fur off the sides looked like a chamois cloth with, I guess you would say, links, extension hanging off of it, like loose fitting material, or like it was frayed. And I could tell that was the hair. And then right then and there, I knew what I had seen and I had come in contact with. But one of the reasons I know to get out of there, I'm not an idiot, but at the same time, I'm not a coward. One, I know I had the gun, but 2, the caliber weapon that I had that morning is a decent weapon as far as carrying around if, you have any trouble with, a human or a perp trying to stop you. But what I've researched about and know about these things, a 32 automatic wouldn't do nothing but probably piss it off. And not only that, I'm not stupid. 1 man versus 2, and I've got 1 mag full of 10. No, I don't think so. It's not worth my life. And there's been a lot of things happen on this road in the last 30 years. This road's famed for, it's had 2 murders on it in the last 35 years. One was just recently here about 2 years ago, and there's all kinds of stories about this road back here being haunted. This is seen and that's seen. Well, maybe there's something to it now. I don't know. But I'm taking precautions, and I've done warned the wife, not to travel that way at all at dusk or dawn unless it's an absolute emergency, and do not stop for nothing to make sure the doors are locked. And I tell her if she ever goes across it to carry a weapon at all costs.
Right. Now, when you came up to it, because there was initially when we had talked, you said there was another one on the other side of the road that you had seen.
Yeah, I've seen an eye. What I did, I came back that way a few minutes later. I had to run back and get something from the house. I forgot some papers. And I stopped in that very area. And I had a little Coast flashlight I carry with me, LED, about 125, 130 lumen. And I shined it up in that area. And I didn't see nothing when I was getting ready to go. Then all of a sudden there was this laurel bush, about 5 foot high, probably 4 foot wide, and it had 3 trees growing out of the side of it. It looked like little oak trees, I guess, where the acorns had dropped. But about 5 foot off to that one in the middle, there was a blue eye. A blue eye caught the light, and I seen it blink. And I got out there. I didn't even get out of the car. I just rolled the window enough down to shine the light out and look real quick, and I had the doors locked, and I seen eyes shine, and it was blue. It was not gold like the rest of them, they say, but it was blue. It gave a blue reflection. And all I seen was a one eye, but the tree was so close together, the other one, I figured it was behind it. And when it blinked, I got out there. But it was about 5 foot off the ground. That was enough to tell me that it was no small critter or raccoon or possum or coyote or anything like that.
Was there any noise or, like...
Yeah, you could hear the noise. You could hear the leaf litter cracking around it where it was standing. So I knew there was something standing there. Yes.
Okay. All right. So when you went back, you went to your appointment afterward.
Yes.
I'm assuming daytime or a little brighter than
Yeah, it was a little brighter. It was
on your
starting
way
to break
back
dawn.
through. Did you see any like I don't know, because you said there was like laurel bush and some brush and stuff. Was there any like indentations that you noticed, like from it
I did
coming
notice
down? Or
the shine. I'm thinking what was an ear, like the shadow went past, the eye and up, and you could see like a shadow of like a point.
okay,
I guess like a fourth of the ear standing up. So yeah, I pretty well know what it was.
okay, all right,
And the one I had previously seen by the light of the tail light, it was no human, it was no man. Because one, it was too tall, and two, you could just tell by the outlook. The head, from what I could tell, wasn't exactly where a man should have been. It sort of looked down,
right,
and it was wide. It was very wide. But when I started hearing the gravel moving, and it was a weird sound when the gravel started moving, like something was rubbing on the gravel when it was picking up its feet, like a dragging sort of sound, like it was something was dragging. I would guess the toenails.
okay,
I would go to say more or less the claws.
right, right. Now, just back to when you parked the car and you were looking at the prints on your car.
Right.
Was there a difference, like, because you said that the fingers were skinny, was there a difference in like where the claw would be from the finger?
You could see a light indentation, 4 light indentations where evidently the tip of the claw made contact with the surface of the paint.
Okay.
And when I got home that evening after I stopped by and washed it, I was able to take a chamois cloth and some wax and wax them out for the most point. And what I couldn't wax out, the way the car is colored and clear coated, it's really, really hard to spot unless you're right up on it with a magnifying glass. But yeah, there's still remnants of it there.
Okay. All right. So pretty much Virginia is, I mean, I've been making a map of encounters lately, and I have you as a subscriber that lives in Virginia, another subscriber that lives in Virginia, and from Pennsylvania, it seems like they're traveling south for some reason.
Right, correct.
But they're stopping. I'm really not sure where, because they'd go to Luke's all the way down to Mississippi. The other subscriber that I have that lives in Virginia, he has noticed that the animals are. He said that there was an abundance of smaller animals back in the day: squirrels, chipmunks, raccoons. They disappeared, and then the bears came.
Right.
And now the bears came off the mountain. So I'm thinking that these things are coming from the north and going south using these ridges and stuff. I'm trying to figure out why. I mean, it's just
I would think
nuts.
it possibly, Jeff, bro, because of the seasons. I guess if you think about it, as intelligent as what they say they are, and from what I've seen and learned and researched, they show high intelligence. But
yeah,
possibly migrating is like the birds would, and the amount of small game that's down south.
Yep. Yep.
And a perfect example, like a highway that runs clean through your state in 2 hours, is the Appalachian Trail.
Yeah, and that would make sense where the bears would be coming off that mountain, through that trail down into mainland. And, like Luke said, that den that's on his old property, his family doesn't own it anymore, but he would notice like a migration period.
Correct.
It's just strange that these things. I don't know. I'm confused because I wonder if they go straight down the Appalachian and then out west towards the west, out towards Oklahoma that way, because from the map that I'm making, I literally have it pinpointed to where it goes down the southern coast, not on the coast, but down the south, and then out towards Oklahoma.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're staying there, and it's just very strange. And these things are, the more you have, the more questions that seem to get answered, the more questions arise, and it's very strange.
Exactly.
So,
well, if most patrons would draw up the map of the Appalachian Trail, not just the states that want to attend, but the counties of the state that we're in, and follow it from state to state. It's a clean path from up there above where you're at on down through Pennsylvania, West Virginia, us in Virginia, down through the Carolinas, down through the other southern states, and it starts, like you said, it starts bearing out toward the west until it stops. And if they get off that, it's just a straight shot right through to Louisiana and Mississippi and Texas.
Yep.
And in my opinion, Virginia is the hub. We're right in amongst this, because I know you're more than well aware that, some of the states that are growing with the population of these things is, of course, they say Michigan's where it all started, but they're forgetting about Kentucky. Kentucky's eat up with these things, from what I understand.
Yeah, I mean, they say Michigan, but then the LBL is the...
And Kentucky.
Yeah, that's in my eyes, that's the hot spot. That's the zone.
And then you've got Kentucky, then you got Tennessee. Yeah. Tennessee's got a lot of them too, and the Appalachian Trail goes right through Tennessee.
Yep.
And on down, I mean, like you said, the southern coastal states. And I don't know if they're migrating, if the biggest population of them is moving because their habitat is being torn down and cut. I don't know, but there's more of these things that are here. I mean, they're a reality for one thing. For the patrons listening tonight, or when you do listen, is they are real. I don't care what anybody else tells you, what the government denies, or what scientists won't recognize. They are a reality. Not only just a reality, they're a growing number of reality.
Yep.
And, the government covers up a lot of conflicts and run-ins with these things more than what people understand.
Absolutely.
So something's gonna change, or should change, hopefully for the better. If not, there's going to be so many confrontations with these things that it'll just spin out of control.
Yeah, well, I think what's going to happen is just what's been happening, is that it'll just stay a cover-up, and wolves and cougars and bears will get blamed, and until there is that disclosure. So,
right.
Well, I appreciate you coming on and telling us your encounter.
Right.
I hope that you remain safe, and it's very, very smart carrying a firearm with you, especially traveling at night, early mornings when it's dark out. It just seems like these things are getting more brazen, and just they setting up these traps for motorists at odd hours. So
exactly.
Jay, I appreciate you coming on, and
thank you.
I hope that you don't have another encounter, but if you do, you know who to get a hold of.
Yes, sir, I sure do.
All right, you got anything else to say?
Well, I think I do. If the patrons out there listening, and the good folks of the United States, let's think a little bit for the ones who want to wish for a happening to run into these things. I wish you would really think twice about it. And for the ones pursuing them, I would not recommend doing it, even for the most seasoned of Bigfoot hunters, because these are a beast of a different nature. And for the rest of the world, the ones that even try to pursue it or even thinking about if they wish to, think with your head and your heart for a change. Don't think of what's happened to me and others. I'm sure they're not all evil. I mean, there's good and bad in everything, including the human race. You know, there's a wise saying, and that saying is, you know, man fears what it doesn't understand, and therefore we hate what we fear. And it's just human nature to try to eradicate what we fear. So let's take a few minutes to think real strong and hard about if we want to cast the first stone. But that's about all I have, Jeff.
All right. I appreciate that, and I wish you nothing but luck and the best. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Have a great night.
You as well. Good night.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, guys. I am kind of, I don't know. I'm really thinking that things may come to a head, but the suits are going to keep it on the DL. I don't really know. I know these things are getting smarter, or maybe not smarter, just more cunning. They're watching us more. They're becoming more strategic about their attacks. If you think about the teacher the doctor who was in her car in Georgia. Her car was found on the other side of the road from where her body was found 15 feet away. They obviously know what they're doing, and when they put their minds to it, they're going to do it, unless something, like you're going too fast, or they can't make it happen. I don't know what else to say anymore. These things have just, they've surpassed the level of intelligence that I thought they had. The incident with the ambulance driver, or the ambulance passenger and driver, shows just how cunning and vicious these things can be, with all of the unsolved, quote unquote, unsolved deaths. God, there was just 2 this year alone that we know of. The little boy in Kentucky and the doctor in Georgia. There's more, but, they're just not heard. It's strange. I don't know. Tomorrow, I have another subscriber coming on to share his encounter, his wife's encounter, and an encounter from his wife's friend. And it's going to be a pretty good show tomorrow night as well. So I want to thank everybody for always tuning in. And with that, guys, I'm going to bid you farewell.